All right, here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Today, we are going to talk about the lost and found and how hypnosis can help you remember. And I was kind of inspired with this because as I'm building my YouTube channel, one day I had a client who had lost a wedding ring and wanted to find it. And so we had done let me just turn these little notifications off. I had done a a session with her, just getting her to kind of like really relax her mind, try to get out of the logical mind, and just see in a different way. And that video got like the most views out of my small and growing YouTube channel. And I thought, okay, well, hey, there's more interest in this. And so Pete and I are going to talk about it today. And I just wanted to mention a few other things we were talking about before we pushed record, which is, there's a story that someone had on one of their channels just talking about this woman whose furniture got stolen and she wanted it back. And she ended up doing, probably through with a hypnotist, some kind of like reimagining of all of her stuff being back at her house and just really living in the experience of being back in her house with all her furniture. And then she went out to the bank like the next day and did her stuff. And as she was walking back to her car, she accidentally took a wrong turn and ran into the person who had stolen her furniture and was able to get it back. And like, the story was like, even the cops couldn't, with all of their logical and, reality framework, they couldn't find it. But somehow her body led her there. And so Pete's going to bring up the stuff that he knows around lost and found. And I also would love to just talk about this sense of like our inner guidance and inner compass and like ways that it can lead us, especially often it happens maybe in these like mistake moments where we take a wrong turn, but maybe that can be developed. So there's actually handfuls of aspects of lost and found that we'll get into, and including the forensic aspect that Pete brought up before we pushed record, which I'd forgotten about. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today, just ways that we can maybe find things that are lost, other ways that hypnosis is used in actual like forensic, police cases, and even ways that we can maybe find lost parts of ourselves. So I think there's actually just many levels and layers. So take it away, Pete.
Isn't that the truth? Many layers. Because
Absolutely.
like the story you shared with me about really her not knowing where her stuff went, right? Takes to me a lot of trust in the belief and the embodiment of you're gonna find what you're looking for. Yeah. And I think that's something I think a lot of us struggle with is just being able to go like, oh, my intuition, for whatever reason, is saying I got to go down this wrong turn, right? And I think what a lot of us do is we start to get mad at ourselves, right? We go, oh, I'm such an idiot. I shouldn't have gone down this turn, or we're like, what was I doing? Like I got to focus, right? Versus just letting it play out. And I think that's big because when it comes to finding anything, whether it's something where we know we lost it, whether it's we know it's missing, or whether it's, hey, this real event happened and we got to kind of solve it, right? It all takes trust that you can let go and enter that non judgmental world where you let things play out the way they play out. Yeah. If I think from my own personal experience, and I'll go back, man, when I was probably like 10, maybe 9, I used to do little odds and end jobs. So I would get paid $5, $10, dollar here or there. And growing up with 3 older brothers, I used to hide it. I was a squirrel of hiding money, and it would just be anywhere and everywhere where I could really put it. But then I remember going, man, I'm going to lose all this money. I put it all in gather it all together and hid it somewhere else. And then I forgot about it for a long time. And it wasn't until I was maybe 15, 16, all of a sudden, like this idea popped in my head. And so I had like this little puppet monkey, like this hand puppet. I go in and it would, and something for whatever reason was like, hey, I got to go find that. And by that point, it was in the basement, it was in boxes, and something just inside me was like, you have to find it. I don't know why, but you have to find it. And I remember when I found it, I was kind of like, I don't understand why, like all of a sudden this is so important to me, until I put my hand inside it and I pulled out a wad of cash, right? And it was probably close to like $150. Now to a 15, 16-year-old, I was the richest person in the world. But it's to show that like trusting yourself can lead to really good things, right? And I couldn't judge it going, well, that's a kid's toy. Like, why would I care about that? It's something inside me. This, whether you want to call it a burning desire, a burning interest, something was like, let's go find this, right?
Right.
And I just had to trust it. And I think that's something we all forget from time to time that we need to do.
Yeah.
We just need to trust. Right?
Well, and that can just be incredibly, incredibly difficult to cultivate, especially if you've trusted yourself before and that led to results that, felt like they weren't good results. So, and that's something that we should definitely talk about more. We could talk about it briefly, but let's try to keep it in the realm of like, a lost and found. But I would say in that regard, just losing trust and being able to find trust is actually a potent topic.
It is. And if we talk about like real quickly, I would say when we feel like we can't trust ourselves, we're missing the bigger picture. For me, it's always, I forget if it's like a Chinese proverb story or from somewhere else, but it was, this guy was, went to war as a child, was an amazing, warrior, came home, peace in the land. And then he had a son, and the son became of age and they were going back to war. And everyone in town were like, oh my God, like, you must be so heartbroken. Your son's going to go to war. And he's kind of like, I don't know. Right. And then they're all starting to get ready to go to war. His son fell and broke his foot. And all of a sudden he couldn't go. And everyone in the town was like, oh my God, you must be so excited that now your son broke his foot. He can't go to war. And he's like, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just, I don't know yet. Right. And then, because his son broke his foot, he was doing all the extra chores and he forgot to latch the gate to the horses, and they all ran away. And all the townspeople came back and like, oh my God, you must be so upset and angry that, all your horses are gone. And he's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. 4 or 5 days go by, the horses come back and they bring extra horses. Right. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, you have an abundance of horses. This must be good or bad. He's like, I don't know. And I think sometimes when we see an event, we automatically assume it's good or bad. Yeah. We're looking at that one part versus waiting until the end, being able to look back and go, I see how that was a good thing. It may have seemed bad in the moment, but it overall turned out to be a good thing, And that is something I hold in my head all the time when I do doubt myself, right? Because I think that's something we all experience. Like, I can't speak for you, I guess, but for me, I experience doubt on a regular basis. And when I feel that doubt, it's just a reminder going, well, I don't know. Maybe this will lead to something greater.
Right.
And
I love that story. It really demonstrates, the example there. It's a great story. It's like, I don't know yet, and I think there's something about that also, just being present and non-judgmental, not putting a label or a judgment on the thing. which obviously can be hard too if you're in survival mode or, fear has taken over and what have you.
Yeah.
So, well, let's definitely talk more about developing the trust in ourselves next week. I would
Yes.
love to do that. I think this is super important.
You know, and
So,
oh, you
go
go.
ahead.
I was gonna say when we bring that into finding stuff that we've lost, right? We just need to know that it may not come in that moment. It might be 2 days later. It might be 5 days later. But we have to trust that where we're going to put our energy will lead us to what we've been looking for, right? Whether it's the story you told where even the police couldn't figure it out, but her mind, her body, her energy could, and it led her right to it, right? It's one where I think of one client I did have where she moved. It was pretty much from like down south to up here. So we'll say Georgia to Massachusetts, and she just remembered taking off her jewelry, her rings. She put them in a bag and put them in a box, and box upon box, and And then when she moved up here, she was like, "I swear I went through every box and I couldn't find it," and she racked her brain on just finding it, right? But when talking to her, she had the thought process, and I want to say like science calls it inattentional blindness. But essentially you're putting your energy in the wrong spot. Like her thought process, well, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. It's not there, right? So what she's really doing is going, it's not I'm looking for my bag of rings, it's I'm looking for it's not there. Right. And when we worked together, and this was like a while ago, because um, don't see an awful lot where people are coming this way to find it, at least in Massachusetts. But it was one where all we did is we just went back in time, right, to when she was getting ready to move, and the day she took off her rings, and versus putting her energy on it's not there, we went, let's put the energy on where it is, and sure, like she's like, oh, I got up and there I am, cooking my eggs, getting ready for the day. Oh, my mom calls, so I'm talking to my mom and hang up the phone and I'm packing. And then I realized, oh man, I got to pack these rings. So I take them off and I'm putting them in this bag, and I put this bag in this drawer, and I put this drawer over here, and I put it inside this. And she was like, but I know I looked there and it wasn't there. I said, okay. I said, when did you look there? And she was like, well, when I was deciding that it's not there. I said, okay. I've learned for myself that happens to me almost every day when I can't find my keys.
Yeah.
Right? I go, they're not on the counter. I know I didn't leave them there. But you know what? I left them there. But because my energy is on, they're not there. In the hypnosis world, we call it a negative hallucination. Right? We don't see something that is physically in front of us. It's such a natural experience that we tell ourselves and we put the energy into it not being there, that our mind literally looks at it and goes, that must not be the keys he's talking about then. Let's not even show it to him. Then my wife will come over and she'll be like, these keys? I'm like, yeah, where'd you find them? They're right there on the counter next to the fruit. I'm like, I looked there 100 times, right? We get so focused on it's not there that our mind goes, that can't be it. Let's not even show it to him, because that would be a waste of our time.
So what would be the opposite of that? So say you looked for the keys, look for the jewelry. Would you look for them again in the physical realm, saying that they are here and I can see them? They are seeable, they are findable, they are here. or what's the suggestion?
Yeah. So we would think it must be there. But that is in a lot of ways equally as dangerous, because let's say I said they must be on the kitchen table, but they're really on the counter. It will still delete them from the counter where they really are. Because I'm saying to myself, it must be this one way. And the truth is, we need to go into it with a non-judgmental energy, a non-judgmental attitude, going, they could be anywhere. Let me just see everything. Let me experience the table with everything on it. Okay, they're not there, right? Let me non-judgmentally go to the island and go, show me everything on this island. And then I'd be like, oh, there they are, right? Because we really need that non-judgmental part of ourselves going, it must be here, it can't be here. It needs to be in the middle of, it could be anywhere. It could be here and it could be there, right? It could be somewhere else altogether, And when we can really take that step back, in my experience of going, okay, it could be anywhere. And we take that deep breath and we kind of let go of any preconceived notion that it has to be somewhere. Our mind will begin to go, have we looked here yet? I think it could be here.
Yeah.
And it begins to feed you, right? I call it the back of my head whisper. It's never loud. It's never screaming at me. It's like it's this timid child going, excuse me. I think I saw it over there, But when we can quiet down and listen to it, it's always right.
Yeah. And I mean, we just keep coming around to that all the time when it comes to, hypnosis, for clients or for ourselves. And I think also just learning about ourselves, going deeper and listening in. There's that like the listening, the non-judgment, for the expansiveness of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go in there going, I've already looked in all these places, like what a different, set of vocabulary than, wanted you to say it again. How did you say it? Like everything is, how did you say it? That was so good.
So it's really like, show me everything that's really here, right? Show me everything on the table. Show me everything on the island. Show me, everything everywhere all at once type of mentality, right?
Right.
Where you're not going one way or the other. You're not saying it has to be here, and you're not saying it can't be here. You're saying it could be anywhere. Just lead me, guide me. I'm going to trust, and I found the more we get accustomed to do it, the quicker it happens, the quicker we find things, the easier we find things, and the more, believe it or not, we actually remember.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, like I misplace things all the time. And it took me years to stop stressing about it. And obviously sometimes it's stressful. Like you have to get to the airport, you can't find your keys. That's stressful. There's no doubt. But in moments where you don't have to stress about it and just create a story and create a whole bunch of like static around it, and just being like, it's here and I'll find it, and then I think, especially if you're someone who loses things a lot and like me misplaces them a lot, to like validate to yourself once you find them, like, see, when I misplace these things, they are here, they are findable. And the more that, and then for me, I'm anchoring in, trust myself. I actually put things in places that are correct. It's just that I happen to then forget how correct of a spot that was. Once I find it, it's like, that was really actually a good spot.
Yeah.
So to just kind of using whatever validation that you can when it does happen to like connect the parts of you that are like losing things, but then can find them in a calm way, in that open, it is here sort of way, opposed to that other judgmental, kind of style that you're talking about.
Right. And when you said stress, right? Because I think we all get stressed, right? How much do we ignore when we are stressed? Right. Because it's one where I think about how we learned that our mind can handle 7 things plus or minus 2, right? At a time. And when we're stressed, we are so limiting that number to as low as possible that it's natural for our mind and body to begin to ignore things, right? To ignore what's really going on around us. And when we're stressed and, we're panicking because we go, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. Our energy is not on finding what we're looking for. It's about leaving. It's about whatever we're stressed about, right? Then it takes us 10 times as long as if we went, you know what? I'm going to be late, and that's going to be okay. I'm just going to trust that I'm going to look and I'm going to see everything, and I know I'm going to find it quickly and easily, right? And you listen, and it goes, oh, maybe, like you said, it's in that very logical spot that we checked 100 times already, but now it's there, because you're just shifting that momentum into that stress, into the energy of alignment of finding. It's one where, like, if you go on YouTube, it's one of my favorite videos to watch on how like energy actually works. It has 2 tuning forks, and one tuning fork has like a ball on a string attached to it, and you play something at a different frequency, the ball doesn't move, and you hit the one with the same frequency, and all of a sudden the ball starts bouncing. That's the power of real energy, that when we're on that stress frequency, it can only produce those stress kind of results, which include erasing what we're looking for. But when we change the frequency, we get tuned into it, it's so natural then to see the ball start moving, go, yes, that's what I was looking for. It's right there, right in front of me. It's in my own hands, for goodness sakes, right?
Well, all of us have experienced that. I looked there a million times, or oh my God, it's right here, so.
There's been times where, like, I'm looking for my phone, using my phone's flashlight to look for it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's just one of those things that's like, oh my God, I was so focused on I can't find my phone that even though I was using it, my brain went, this must not be the phone he's talking about because it's right here.
Oh, yeah. So before we do a small guided meditation, just to give people an idea of how to kind of work with this, I was curious, can we just go over, like, if there's something physical that you've lost, like, what are a few kind of key points of things that people can use, and then we can move into the meditation.
Yeah. So a few things is let go of finding it or not finding it. That's going to be the hardest part. Is you got to understand it just is, right? And knowing that when you let it go, you will most likely find it. But you can't be focused on one or the other. It's going to be like, hey, just show me everything. The second one is you got to be in the right frame of mind as far as if you're, let's say, stressed because you're like, man, I got to leave the house or I'm going to be late for work. You have to be okay with taking that step back, taking that deep breath, going, I'm going to be late for work one way or the other, right? It's okay. No, almost no one, I would say, got fired for being late one day, right? If you're late all the time, well, that might be a different story, but that's a different thing to work on. But if it's one day, we're people. Even our bosses are people, and wherever we're going are people. Take that step back. Be okay in this moment. You will be okay in this moment. And then the third one is just listen. Listen to your mind going, this is where we've been. This is where we use whatever we're looking for. This is where it could be, right? Because you might go, like, I think of it like a scavenger hunt. You might go to place one where it goes, I remember it here. And you go there and it's like, yes, I remember now. After here, you went to spot 2. Yes, I remember now we're at spot 2. We went to spot 3. Eventually, you will get to the end, right? Now, critical thinking is, I went to spot 1, it's not there. I shouldn't trust myself. I shouldn't listen. I went to spot 2 because Pete said, listen, and it wasn't there either, so I gave up, right? Then you go to spot 3 and it's not there. Individually, they look like bad choices. Like you shouldn't have trusted your instinct, that voice. But when you just stick with it, right, it'll lead you to it. And then can you look back and go, I needed to go to all those other spots to lead me to here. I never would have came here without those.
Yeah. And then as far as this technique of like, sometimes like for someone maybe who's lost their jewelry and it's been a week or 2, of course you can go through these various steps. And then just as far as like the forks that you're talking about and the energy and the story that I began with, there's this other way to just really, I mean, I know it just sounds ridiculous and to some people in certain ways, but like really visualize and experience yourself back with that thing, and it's like, try it. Wouldn't it be impressive and amazing if you did really just do that? And then you and the lost thing were attracted back to each other. I mean, it works sometimes. And
what do you have to lose? It's already lost. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I just love that idea of, it's like you said, you've already lost the thing. What do you have to lose except to get a nice meditation, nice visualization, letting the logical mind go and just really sinking into like being back on your furniture in your apartment, being with the jewelry on your body. I mean, obviously you can't do it with something that has free will if it's a person, but if it's a thing that is energy, why not? So I just love that idea, because to me, with the story of this woman who took a wrong turn and found the person, that just opens up the idea for me for that inner compass and that inner guidance that almost always is overrun by the logical mind. But it has a place, and it often gets categorized as a mistake or I wasn't thinking. But there's actually really some potency within not thinking. There really is a natural intelligence that guides us that I look forward to like connecting to more and more all the time. And again, whether that story is true or not true, I think it was a true story. It just shows that it's in there. So maybe in our little visualization with you today, we can tap into that.
Yeah. So hopefully everyone has something that they're looking for, right? Whether it's physical, even emotional, all the same, right? Because I think a lot of times some of us go, man, you know what I miss? The part of me that was happy, the part of me that was carefree, the part of me that was a good listener. Something happened and I lost that part of me, right? That is also what we're going to do today. We'll work for that, right? But I also understand that the answer might not come within the next 5-10 minutes. It might come 3, 4, 5 days later, as long as you're listening. The easy thing we're going to do is just begin to move our attention onto it, not away from it, right? Because again, when we go, oh man, I missed that part of me, we're still saying it's gone, which means it can't come back. But when we go, man, that carefree side of me was amazing because I did X, Y, and Z. I felt A, B, and C. Now you're inviting it back in because you're saying it still is part of me, So think of that as we go through of how you're just shifting that energy from gone to the still here, even when you physically can't see it yet. So with that, all we're going to do is get nice and comfy. Take a nice deep breath in. And then slowly exhale, just closing your eyes if they're open. And just take a moment. Take a moment to become aware of already what's going on around you. The rise and fall of every breath. The noises you hear around you, even the sound of my voice, even your own thoughts. Knowing as you begin to focus on certain things, you get to gain certain experiences. See, maybe if you focus on your breath, you get to hear the air flowing through your body as it enters and leaves. Maybe if you focus on relaxation, you can just allow your shoulders to become droopier and heavier, more peaceful, calm. As that relaxation grows, you may begin to experience that one hand just naturally feels heavier than the other hand. You may also become aware that as that relaxation grows, that the same thing happens to your feet, where you get to feel the ground firmly beneath you. Maybe you begin to feel the temperature, the texture of the air that's all around you. See, where attention goes, energy flows. And all I want you to do is just to think, to feel, to sense what it's like to have that item that's been missing for so long. For some people, it's easier just to go back to a memory. Maybe the last memory where you felt it. See, a time in the past where you had it in your hands and you go, this is amazing. I miss this so much. But now all my energy is flowing into. It's already here. It's already coming back to me. I'm giving my mind the ability just to trust. To trust that it's going to give me, could be a picture, a sound, a word, a thought that helps attract me to where it was put last. Now, I know I may not consciously understand what it's trying to tell me, but I'm choosing to trust my unconscious to teach me, to guide me, to mentor me, to bring it back into my life in a rate and speed that's right for me to truly enjoy. To bring a smile on my face for when I'm like, yes, that's where it is. Yes, this is where I need to go and this is what I need to do. And all I want you to do is take all the time you need to give your unconscious mind that permission, to show it how you're going to trust it for when it feeds you the information you need in those moments that make all the difference. And when you know that your unconscious mind and you are in full agreement, that you let go of finding or not finding, when you bring in trust, the ability to listen, to work as a team, you get to come on back knowing whatever you're looking for is coming your way in the right time. Now, welcome back. You might be on mute.
Was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice. Wow, that was a fun experience for me. So I hope that that is helpful for the folks who are listening now and the folks that are listening later. Um, and you can really just, I might even take some of these guided meditations and just make them like smaller clips so that people can use, maybe be guided and then have a longer, just nice music to allow someone to sort of continue on so that you can use these things, because it is really nice to be led by someone, led in. And then often, once you get to that place that you can listen in and, trust yourself and all those things, you don't need more words from someone else. You start to just kind of listen to yourself. So,
Yeah.
As always, whenever we have these conversations, they open up, 20 cans of worms with hundreds of worms inside them. And so definitely we can move forward. I think it's typical and beautiful to, originally just kind of think about having lost something, like a jewelry or furniture or something, and finding like how much deeper actually there are of parts of ourselves that we lose and all sorts of things, and how it comes back into that trust and listening in and that inner guidance and that inner compass. So I'm definitely going to walk with my day thinking about that inner guidance and compass and see how I can let it move me and just like see where it wants to bring me. Um, and I'm happy that we had this conversation today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoy talking about this stuff. This is the fun stuff.
this is this is the fun stuff. So also just remembering, I had written down in there, there's the couple tips that that Pete mentioned is just, to let go of finding it or not finding it. You can't be really focused on one or the other. You have to be okay with taking a step back and accepting in that moment and listen to your mind that this is where this is where we have been and this is where it could be. And to me, it just sounds like it's really a blanket of possibility opposed to judgment, and not necessarily a judgment, but creating ideas that then limit and make that negative hallucination and blindness that has been shown to really happen. So it's the power of the brain. Any
Yeah.
last words from you about this, Pete?
Yeah, you know what? Keep at it. I think don't, just like the warrior in the beginning, just like how we might go to one spot, right? And it's not there. Keep going, right? Think of it like, I guess, a treasure map, right? You don't start at the X, right? You always start on the beach, and you got to go through the woods, and you got to go, did I do the right amount of paces? And, but when you stick with it, you always get to the X, right? You always get to the treasure. And so look at every moment where it's not as just a stepping stone, right? As a mile marker to go, all right, I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. As always, reach out with any questions. If there's things you want to talk about, that's always fun. We'll incorporate that. And if you want to work with either of us, you can contact us. And if you just have simple questions, we love to answer them. Simple or complex, I'm sure.
All questions.
All right. Until then, everyone, thank you so much. And ciao for now.
Bye.